Welcome to Xiao Voice. Continuing from the previous episode 163, numerous rays of light scattered down from the sky onto the ancient altar. Finally, they entered the interior of the altar, as though it had a true form, bringing about wave after wave of warmth. Xiao sat cross-legged under the many intersecting light rays. He glanced at the little fairy doctor in front of him. There was no longer even the faintest bit of poison vapor being emitted from the surface of her body. Her skin, that had originally been a pale white because of the woeful poison body, had once again emitted healthy, sleek, red color. Clearly, this body of hers, that had been destroyed by the poison over many years, had once again been revitalized. Xiao eyes swept around before they paused on the little fairy doctor's smooth lower abdomen. At this moment, a surging energy was located at that spot. Moreover, this energy was continuously shrinking to that spot at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the face of this shrinking, the little fairy doctor's naked body appeared like warm jade as it slowly emitted a faint luster. Looking from a distance, she appeared just like a fairy in the sky, giving her a holy feeling. Xiao eyes swept around some more before being lowered. An ordinary person was unable to imagine just how difficult it was to resist this allure when it was spread at an unexpected time. It was just like a goddess in one's heart suddenly revealing an enchanting appearance in front of oneself. It was just like a charm being suddenly unleashed. Xiao eyes observed his nose while his nose observed his heart. This lasted for a moment, but Xiao was still unable to focus his mind. Immediately, he let out a bitter laugh. He took out a large robe from his storage ring and gently covered the little fairy doctor's lovely body. He was also an ordinary man. It was best that there was less of such temptation. One would be psychologically deformed if there was too much of it. After completing this safety precaution, Xiao finally let out a sigh of relief. His eyes wandered in all directions. The light being reflected from the smooth stone walls caused him to narrow his eyes. By sitting within this altar, it appeared as though he was in a world of sunlight. It seemed as if this altar was another bright sun surrounding them. Currently, the interior of the little fairy doctor's body could be considered to have entered an orderly state. As long as she compressed the woeful poison vapor into the monster core, she would be able to successfully form the poison Dan. This process was something Xiao was unable to help with. All she could do was rely on her own strength. Although there was nothing left for Xiao to do in this place, it was naturally not possible for him to leave now. He needed to wait until the little fairy doctor completely formed the poison Dan before he could relax. After all, this poison Dan method was something that he had no experience with. Xiao sat on the ground. He extended both of his hands in a bored manner and lazily stretched his waist. He shifted his eyes and suddenly stopped them on the bottomless hole within the altar. Xiao blinked his eyes. He hesitated for a moment before shifting his body, carefully moving to the side of the hole in the ground. His gaze drifted into it, only to see an endless darkness. Other than its creator, it was likely that no one knew just where this hole led. The fire affinity energy inside is indeed extremely dense. Xiao fondled his chin. He was unclear of why this hole no longer emitted the core fire seedlings. However, he was indeed a little interested in this thing. Of course, one should say that he was interested in the sunflame of this altar. After musing for a moment, Xiao hand gently pressed against the hole in the ground. He let out a soft cry and a suction force surged out of his hand. Following the surging of this suction force, a great amount of fire affinity energy was pulled up. Finally, it scattered. However, the so-called core fire seedling did not appear. Xiao frowned when he saw this. He immediately let out a cold laugh. He did not believe that he was unable to pull out even a little core fire seedling. Xiao resolved himself. He suddenly increased the suction force and wave after wave of dense fire affinity energy was continuously emitted from the hole in the ground. However, the so-called core fire seedling still did not show itself. This kind of crazy suction force continued for over 10 minutes. Just when Xiao was feeling somewhat helpless, a thought suddenly passed through his heart. His hand quickly shifted aside. After his hand was shifted aside, a wisp of an extremely tiny, blood-red fire seedling fled the hole in the ground with lightning-like speed. This wisp of fiery red fire seedling had just escaped when it made contact with the light rays above. Immediately, a ripple was formed between the two. One could hear a puff sound as a wave of extremely warm white-colored flame appeared out of nowhere in front of Xiao. Xiao Yan was surprised as he looked at the flame in front of him. The flame was pure white in color, but its interior was filled with countless vein-like blood threads. It was as though they were the blood vessels of this flame, covering its body. This is the sunflame? Xiao Yan gently extended his hand and received this white-colored flame. The fire energy within was extremely calm and did not possess the violence of other flames. However, with Xiao Yan's eyesight, he was naturally able to tell that this sunflame was much stronger than some ordinary beast flames. Due to it not possessing violent characteristic, it might not be strong when it came to attacking, but it was exceptionally suitable to be used to refine pills. After all, it was a little easier to control it. I wonder if this sun flame can nourish my flame creation skill? A thought suddenly passed through Xiao Yan's mind when he looked at this white flame. Currently, the life transformation flame was only in an embryonic form. It was far from sufficient for him to use it to form the extermination fire lotus. If this sun flame can also be turned into nourishment for the life transformation flame like other beasts' flames, he would have gained something for nothing. Xiao Yan did not hesitate even a little as this thought flashed across his heart. He clenched his hand and absorbed the sun flame into his body. After which, the glazed lotus heart flame surged out and easily refined it. Following which, the flame was merged with the tiny life transformation flame in his body. It is indeed effective. When the sun flame merged with the fire seed, Xiao Yan could clearly sense the fire seed significantly expand. This kind of swelling was far greater than when he absorbed some ordinary beast flames. A joy flashed across Xiao Yan's heart when he sensed the unique effect of this sun flame. This sun flame was not as difficult to tame as a beast flame. It was also extremely easy to refine it. If there was a large amount of it, it would be possible to cultivate this life-transforming fire seed. Upon thinking about how his extermination fire lotus would have enough resources to be unleashed without worry after the strengthening of this life-transforming flame, Xiao Yan's heart suddenly became fiery hot. His eyes suddenly turned to the hole in the ground in front of him as he laughed. He once again extended his hand and a suction force suddenly appeared. This suction continued for over 20 minutes before the wisp of a tiny blood-colored fire seed sprang out of the hole in the ground. It was swallowed by Xiao Yan after it merged with the sunlight and formed the sun flame. Having tasted the benefits of this sun flame, Xiao Yan became so happy that he ceased being tired. He repeatedly and forcefully removed core fire seedlings from the hole in the ground. However, this method of his was clearly not a long-term solution. The hole in the ground had already been exhausted of core fire seedling. After being forcefully sucked out 5 or 6 times, the seedlings finally ceased appearing. Regardless of how Xiao Yan sucked, even until he was covered with perspiration, not one fire seedling came out. Has it really been sucked empty? Xiao Yan rubbed the perspiration on his forehead. He frowned and looked at the hole in the ground, which was void of any activity, before muttering to himself. Xiao Yan knit his brows and mused for a moment. After which, he suddenly shut his eyes, and a majestic spiritual strength slowly spread from between his brows. Finally, it transformed into a tiny wisp as it entered the hole in a lightning-like fashion. Xiao Yan's spiritual strength immediately sensed a great heat after entering the hole in the ground. Even though his spiritual strength was protected by the heavenly flame, he still felt a slight giddiness. Xiao Yan's heart became cold as he sensed this giddiness. There was such a dense fire poison within the deep parts of this hole. Moreover, this kind of fire poison was even able to erode one's soul. Just when Xiao Yan was hesitant about withdrawing his spiritual strength, a red light suddenly flickered in the deepest regions of the dark black hole. Huh? The flickering red light was sensed by Xiao Yan. Immediately, he let out a surprised cry. He hesitated for a moment before maneuvering his spiritual strength. He rushed over to the place where the red glow was flickering. The shuttling speed of the spiritual strength was extremely fast. A moment later, the red glow appeared in front of Xiao Yan's spiritual sight. The red glow was emitted from a cluster of some unknown, sticky, blood-red liquid. This liquid was circular in shape and its size coincidentally sealed off the bottom of the hole. What a shocking fire affinity energy! Xiao Yan inhaled a breath of air the moment his gaze landed on the sticky, blood-red liquid. This sticky, solid-like liquid had been formed from countless amounts of pure fire affinity energy. No wonder this ground hole no longer produces any core fire seedlings. They have all been blocked at this spot. Xiao Yan also obtained an understanding after seeing this cluster of blood-red liquid. However, he did not have any thoughts of dredging it. The energy contained within it was too wild and violent. If he touched even a little of it, the rest would also react. If he was careless, it was likely that even this spiritual strength would not be able to flee this hole in the ground. Xiao Yan mused for a moment before finally deciding not to bother with it. Just when he was about to turn around and leave, however, he suddenly glanced over a red-colored light glow flickering within the red-colored liquid. This is... Xiao Yan's soul turned its eyes toward that red-colored glow, only to see that there was a thumb-sized, round, red bead suspended within the sticky blood-colored liquid. The blood-red bead might not be big, but at a glance, it appeared just like a fire bead with a flame burning above it. Its outer appearance was exceptionally mysterious. Xiao Yan's spiritual gaze was startled as he looked at the blood-red bead. A moment later, he finally inhaled a deep breath. Core bead?